This is the story about the Devil's Highway. I used to think Honda roads were just stories. Highway 666, the so called Devil's Highway, was one of those legends people whispered about in Arizona bars, warning truckers and travelers not to take it at night. Most shrugged it off. I did too. But that was before the summer of 2012, when three of my friends and I decided to drive the length of it for the thrill. We were stupid, young, restless, and itching for something to scare us. We thought we were invincible. There were four of us: me, Evan, the one behind the wheel of my dusty Ford Explorer; Matt, my oldest friend, a skeptic always ready with sarcastic jabe; Jules, who loved scary stories and pushed us to make this trip in the first place; Rennie, quiet, sensitive, the one who had a bad feeling from the start. We left Gallup, New Mexico, just as we passed the sign that once read US 666, the Devil's Highway. The sky was bleeding into black. The desert stretched endlessly on either side, empty but for clusters of mesquite and red rock formations. Heat still clung to the air, shimmering in the distance like ghostly mirages. The two-lane highway stretched straight ahead, vanishing into the darkness like it didn't have an end. "Come on, Evan," Jules said from the back seat, grinning as she recorded with her phone. "Say it, say that thing." I smirked. "What thing?" "The thing that all say on ghost shows." I sighed dramatically, then cleared my throat. "Welcome to the Devil's Highway. Abandon all hope. Yet who enter here?" Matt groaned. "You guys are idiots. It's just a road, a boring long-ass road." But Rainey didn't laugh. She kept her eyes fixed on the window, watching the desert roll past. Her fingers tapped nervously against her leg, like it didn't feel like just a road, she whispered. Her tone silenced us for a moment. I tried to shake it off. "It's fine. Creepy vibe is part of the fun." The miles dragged on. Outside, the desert seemed to grow darker than the sky, like the land itself was swallowing the starlight. The headlines carved a narrow tunnel of visibility, but beyond that, nothing. No houses, no gas stations, no other cars. Just us and the highway. At first, we joked and played music, but after an hour, the mood shifted. The radio cut out, dissolving into static, no matter what station I tried. My phone lost service. Evan, Jules, glued to her recording, grew quieter. Around midnight, Rennie suddenly sat up straighter. "Did you see that?" "See what?" Matt asked. She pointed out her window. "Someone walking." I glanced but saw only shadows. "It's just a tree." "No," she snapped, sharper than I'd ever heard her speak. "It was a man right there, on the side of the road." We argued for a few minutes, Matt insisting she was seeing things, Jules backing Rainey up, saying locals reported hitchhikers that vanished when you looked twice. I laughed it off, but inside, unease was calling tight in my gut. That was when we passed the first mile marker. I noticed all night. The reflective green sign glowed in our headlights. 13. Jules leaned forward. "Wait, wasn't 13 the cursed one? People vanished near it?" Matt groaned again. "Oh, give me a break." Rennie whispered something that made my skin crawl. "Then why didn't we see mile marker 12? I checked the outer meter, my eyes darting back at the road. She was right. I hadn't seen 12 or 11. Maybe I just missed them. But the longer I thought about it, the more wrong I felt. The road stretched on. The air in the car grew heavy, hotter, though the AC blasted full. Then ahead of us I saw it, a shape of the shoulder, illuminated in the beams. A man. He stood facing the desert, his back to us. His clothes looked wrong, like they were decades out of date. Ragged jeans and a plaid shirt, torn at the sleeves. His hair was stringy, black, reaching his shoulders. "See?" Rainey whispered. "I told you." Matt leaned forward. "It's just some drifter." But as we passed, the man turned his head towards us, and I nearly swerved. His face wasn't right. The skin was pale, stretched too tight, like it had been dried in the sun. His eyes gleamed, catching the headlights, reflecting them like an animal's. And then he smiled. Not at all surprised to us, more like he'd been waiting. And Jules screamed, fumbling for her phone, but by the time she lifted it, the man was gone. The shoulder behind us was empty, swallowed by the night. Nobody said anything for a long stretch. Only the sound of tires against asphalt. Finally, Matt forced a laugh. "Okay, that was weird, but it's gotta be some local messing with us, trying to spook terrorists." "On a highway this empty?" Rain whispered. "At midnight?" Nobody answered. I tightened my grip on the wheel and drove faster, as if speed alone couldn't get away from that smile. But deep down, I already knew. We weren't getting off Highway 66 that easily. The desert has a way of tricking your eyes. Heat, ripples, shadows bending into shapes that look like people. That's what I told myself after we saw the man. A figment of tired brains, nothing more. But an hour later, as the Explorer ratted down the endless stretch of asphalt, the shape on the road ahead was unmistakable. A figure standing right in our lane. I slammed the brakes, tires screeched, the whole car shuddered as I swerved. We barely missed him. The figure spun in the headlights, his outline clear for only a second before we stopped 20 feet down the road. My heart hammered against my ribs. Dust hung in the air, glowing in the beams. "Did you see that?" Jules whispered, her phone shaking in her hand. Matt cursed. "We almost hit the guy. Who the hell stands in the middle of the highway at 1 in the morning?" Rain's voice trembled. "It's the same man. I know it is." I looked in the mirror. The figure was still stood there, unmoving. His outline was sharper now, not just some drifter. His body was twisted, shoulders sludged, arms too long, his shadow stretching far across the asphalt, though there was no moon. "Maybe he needs help," Jules said weakly. Matt laughed, the sound sharp and nervous. "Yeah? Out here? On this cursed road?" I didn't move the car. None of us breathed. The figure tilted its head, slowly, unnaturally, like a puppet pulled on strings. And then it started walking towards us. "Go," Rainey whispered. "Please, Evan, go." I didn't argue. My foot slammed the accelerator. The Explorer roared forward, rattling on the cracked pavement. In the rearview mirror, I saw him shrink into the distance, but not fast enough. For one awful second, his face was lit by the red glow of our taillights, the same dissected skin, those reflective eyes, that impossible grin, stretching too wide. And then he was gone. We drove in silence for miles, the only sound the tires thrumming against the asphalt. Jules finally spoke, her voice tiny. My phone froze. We all glanced at her. The screen was still recording, but the image was black, static flickering like an old TV. She tapped it, shook it, cursed. Nothing. Electronics go dead out here, Matt muttered, though his voice had lost all confidence. It's organic fields or some crap. But Rainey said what we were all thinking. It doesn't want to be recorded. The air in the car thickened again. No one responded. I drove faster, trying to outpace whatever stopped the highway. But Highway 666 isn't like any other road. The further you go, the more it wraps. The desert felt endless, repeating itself. The same saguaro cactus passing again and again. The same crumbling mile marker flashing by. Its number always unreadable. Jules leaned forward suddenly. Wait, look. Ahead of us, by the roadside, a figure stood with its thumb out. A hitchhiker. This one was different. His clothes looked newer. Jeans, a shirt, a baseball cap pulled low. He held a duffel bag at his feet, his arms extended like any other traveler, thumping for a ride. Matt exhaled and shook a laugh. Finally, a normal person. Maybe we can ask what the hell's going on. No, Rini said instantly, her voice firm. We don't stop. I slowed anyway. Something in me wanted to believe Matt. Wanted to believe this was just a lost soul needing help. The headlights washed over him. He didn't move, didn't even flinch. His face stayed tilted towards the ground, hidden by the brim of the cap. I rolled closer, my grip sweaty on the wheel. That was when his head snapped up. His face was nothing but darkness, a hole, a void that swallowed the light. And inside the void, eyes gleamed, dozens of them, stacked and shifting, opening and closing like blinking stars. The hitchhiker dropped his arm and took a step forward. Drive, Jules shirked. I floored it. The Explorer shot forward, engine howling. The hitchhiker blurred past my window, but not before I saw his mouth. A gaping, black maw stretching from ear to ear, filled with teeth that weren't human. The car rattled violently, as if something had struck the rear bumper. We screamed all at once. I glanced at the mirror, and my blood turned to ice. The hitchhiker was in the middle of the road behind us, running, faster than any human could move. His arms swung unnaturally, his legs jerking in a sprint. And though our speedometer hit 80, then 90, he was still there, behind us, still gaining. Faster, Matt shouted. The Explorer roared, the engine stirring. The speedometer needle crept towards 100. My vision tunneled, sweat stinging my eyes, and then suddenly, he disappeared. Just like that, the road stretched empty behind us, only the desert and the dark. We didn't speak for a long time, afraid of losing control, but the silence pressed heavier than speed ever could. Finally, Rennie whispered what we were all thinking. This road doesn't want us to leave. The desert pressed in on us, a wall of shadow that felt alive. After the hitchhiker, none of us spoke. The air inside the Explorer was suffocating, thick with fur, with fear, and the sour stench of sweat. Every mile marker looked the same, like we were circling a loop, trapped in some infinite stretch of cursed asphalt. When I finally saw headlights appear behind us, a rush of relief hit me. Another car, I said, pointing to the rear view. We're not alone out here. Two bright beams swayed in the mirror, going closer. At first, they looked normal, just another traveler braving their desert night. Then I noticed something wrong. The lights weren't bouncing like headlights should. They stayed locked on us, dead straight, like the car was gliding. About time, Matt said, leaning back. Someone else dumb enough to be driving the Devil's Highway at night. Renee turned, her voice sharp. No, something's wrong, look. As the vehicle gained, the outline of the car took shape in the darkness. Sleek, black sedan. Its surface gleamed unnaturally, reflecting her headlights, though there shouldn't have been any angle for that. The sedan crept closer. 50 feet. 40. Evan, Renee whispered. Don't let it pass us. What? Why not? Just don't. The sedan inched closer, tailgating us now. I pushed the gas, speeding up. The Explorer shook, the steering wheel twitching in my hands, but the sedan kept up easily, its headlights boring into the back of my skull. Jules turned around, phone raised. I'll record it this time. If it's just some creep, we'll have proof. But when she pointed her phone, the screen showed nothing, only static. Nothing again, she muttered. It won't record. The sedan honked suddenly, one long, piercing blare that rattled the windows. The sound wasn't normal. It was deeper, like an animal roar echoing through metal. Then the sedan swerved sideways, pulling up alongside us. I glanced and my stomach lurched. The driver's window was down. Inside was a man, or something wearing the shape of one. His skin was pale as bone, stretched tight over sharp cheekbones. His hands gripped the wheel, long fingers tipped with blackened nails. His eyes weren't eyes at all. They were pits of fire, burning with a light that hurt to look at. And his grin, that awful grin again, the same one as the man we'd passed on the roadside. It's him, Renee whispered. The sedan swerved closer, trying to push us off the road. Gravel spat from beneath our tires. I yanked the wheel. Hold on, I shouted. The black car slammed into us. Metal shrieked, the Explorer rocking violently. Jules screamed, clutching the seat. I floored the gas, trying to outpace it. But the sedan matched every move, inches from our door. Then, impossibly, its driver leaned out the window, his head stretched further than it should have, his torso unnaturally. His arms reached towards us, fingers clawing at the air. Renee cried out, ducking. His hands scraped the glass, long nails screeching across the window. Jesus, Matt yelled. Evan, do something. The road curved suddenly, a sharp bend around a rocky outcrop. I jerked the wheel hard, barely keeping us on the asphalt. The sedan swerved wide, gravel exploding beneath it. For a second, it vanished into the darkness beyond the curve. We all gasped in relief. But then, the headlights reappeared in the rear view, closer. And this time, they weren't behind us. They were in front. The black sedan barreled down the wrong side of the road, heading straight for us. Move! Renee screamed. I swerved into the opposite lane. The sedan mirrored me, its headlights blinding, its engine screaming like a beast. Closer. 50 feet. 30. 10.